Good day, Kahilaga. I'm your Ma'am May S. Lorilia, and in this video, I will teach you Mathematics Grade 8, second quarter, week 5. But before we begin, let's play Yes, No, Stand Up game. In this game, I will pose some questions that can be answered by yes or no. If your answer is yes, you have to stand up. If your answer is no, then you have to sit down. Okay, don't forget to practice honesty even though this is a virtual game. This activity is just for you to gain some motivation, some energy to begin our lesson. Okay, so are you ready? Our first question is, do you like chocolate? Okay, did you stand up or sit down? Do you like to play Mobile Legend? Do you stand up or do you sit down? How about this one? Do you wear face mask when going outside? I hope you stand up because if you do not wear face mask before you go outside, you cannot avoid COVID virus. How about this one? Is 4 plus 5 equals 8? And last, is 6 times 2 equals 12? Did you enjoy the activity? I hope you enjoy. You have energy to begin our lesson. And to begin our lesson, our week 5 for the grade 8 second quarter of mathematics is focus on conditional statement, which is under MELC 29 and MELC 30. Okay, MELC 29 is at the end of the lesson, you have to determine the relationship between the hypothesis and the conclusion of an if-then statement. And in the MELC 30, you have to transform a statement into an equivalent if-then statement. To begin, what is conditional statement? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng conditional statement? Conditional statement are made up of two parts. The part following if is the hypothesis and the part following the then is the conclusion. In some other books, it is said that conditional statement are made up of two clauses. Okay? So, yung first clause na tinatawag is the if clause. Yun yung ating hypothesis. And the second clause or the then clause is the conclusion. Okay? Made up of two parts. A conditional statement is also called an if-then statement. Okay? So, huwag kayong malilito pag sinabing conditional statement or if-then statement. Okay? If P, then Q. Where P is the hypothesis and Q is the conclusion. In symbol, ginagamit natin yung P and Q. P symbolize the hypothesis and Q symbolize the conclusion. Okay, mas madaling makilala ang conditional statement kapag nasa if-then statement siya. Okay, so ano ba yung tinatawag nating hypothesis? What is hypothesis and conclusion? Okay, so there are the two parts of conditional statement is the hypothesis and conclusion. Bigyan linaw natin ano ba yung hypothesis. Possible hypothesis, narinig na natin sa ibang subject like science. Okay, so sa science, di ba madalas sinasabi yung hypothetical guess to be proven true. Di ba? Pag nag-e-experiment kayo, nag-create muna kayo ng hypothesis. And then after the experiment, nagkakaroon kayo ng, nagko-conclude kayo. I conclude. Therefore, we conclude. Di ba? Ganun ang ginagawa natin sa science activity like experiment. Okay, so hypothesis tell whether the statement is proven to be true or false. Okay, these are statement na pwede nating patunayan. Okay, so while the second part is the conclusion. Conclusion is an evaluation of the underlying theory or idea of the hypothesis. Possible this is a reason justification about the hypothesis or a description about the hypothesis. Okay, kumbaga, kung may statement ka which is to be proved, So, kailangan susundan mo to ng conclusion or ng statement na pwedeng maging basihan ng iyong hypothesis. Okay. So, yung hypothesis and conclusion na ginagamit or nagagamit natin sa science, pwede rin nating i-correlate sa ibang subject like English. So, pwede nating siyang i-relate sa cause and effect. Sa Pilipino naman ay ang sanhi at bunga. Okay. So, yun yung conditional statement. Pwede natin siyang i-correlate dun sa mga topic na bawat subject na tinukoy natin. Okay? So, in the conditional statement, let's try to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. First statement, if a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. Okay. So, yung ating statement ay written in the if-then form. Okay, may nakikita na tayong word na if and word na then. Okay. So, sabi kanina, yung term o yung phrase natin or clause after ng if is the hypothesis. And after ng then, yan, di ba? If a number is even, the statement after if is a number is even. After then, it is divisible by 2. So, nahati yung statement natin into 2 parts. Yung if at saka yung then. So, the statement or the phrase after if is our hypothesis and the statement or phrase after then is our conclusion. Okay. So, madaling tukuyin yung ating hypothesis and conclusion or madaling i-identify ang hypothesis and conclusion kapag then form ang ating statement. Okay? Kasi yung phrases or statement after ng word na if, pwede mo siyang magamit as hypothesis. At yung statement or phrase na after ng then ay pwede mong gamitin as conclusion. Let's try another one. If COVID-19 would prolong, then we might face economic crisis. Alin dyan ang ating conclusion at alin ang hypothesis or alin ang hypothesis natin at alin ang conclusion. So, i-check muna natin yung ating statement. Hahatiin muna natin siya sa dalawa. Okay. So, as you observe, the example number 2, naka-write siya or naka-ayos siya sa if-then form. Okay? Meron tayong ditong part after if and meron tayong then part. So, yung statement after the word if, yun ang gagamitin nating hypothesis. So, our hypothesis is COVID-19 would prolong. At ang ating conclusion ay yung after ng then, which is we might face economic crisis. Diba? Madaling tukuyin or i-identify ang hypothesis at conclusion kapag naka-if-then statement tayo or if-then form. Okay. How about our third example? Our third example is a triangle is a polygon with 3 sides. Conditional statement might not always be written in the if-then form. Okay. Hindi siya laging naka-if-then form ang ating conditional statement. Ano po? Okay. So, in this kind of example, kapag hindi siya naka-if and then form, you have to identify the subject. Okay. Madalas, ginagamitan ito ng linking verb. Another is pronoun. Or madalas makikita natin yung is, or yun yung madalas na ginagamit na ma-identify natin kung alin yung ating pwedeng gamiting hypothesis at pwede nating gamiting conclusion. Okay. So, dito sa example na ito, a triangle is a polygon with 3 sides. So, our hypothesis is a triangle. Okay. Because that is the subject of our sentence or our statement. Is a polygon with 3 sides. A polygon with 3 sides. Okay. So, alin dyan yung ating hypothesis at alin dyan ang ating conclusion? So, yung subject natin, madalas napupunta yan sa hypothesis. And the description about the subject, yun yung inilalagay natin sa conclusion. So, our hypothesis is a triangle and our conclusion is a polygon with 3 sides. Because a triangle has 3 sides. So, madali nating masabi or ma-conclude that a triangle has 3 sides. That is a good description about a triangle. So that is how we identify the hypothesis and conclusion of a conditional statement. Tandaan, daling i-identify ang hypothesis and conclusion kapag naka-if-then form. But we have to be careful kapag hindi siya naka-if-then form. Pag naka-regular statement lang siya or regular sentence. Okay? So, for now, please get your learning activity sheet number 5 and answer the following activity. So, this is learning task number 1, okay, of your learning activity sheet number 5. In the conditional statement, identify the hypothesis and conclusion. Underline the hypothesis and encircle the conclusion. Okay, tandaan, kailangan i-identify nyo muna yung hypothesis. Kapag na-identify nyo na kung ano ang hypothesis, sa statement given, sasalungguhitan ninyo. And encircle, bibilugan nyo naman ang conclusion. Okay? So, nakita na ba ang inyong learning activity sheet? Saan sasagutan? And prepare also your pen. In this activity, I will be giving you 3 minutes. So, ready na ba kayo? So, timer. Are you ready? Timer. Okay. Starts now. Minute left. Okay, time's up. Okay, your time is up. So let's check item number 1. Okay, please check your work honestly. Check natin yung number 1. Okay. So, in the conditional statement, identify the hypothesis and conclusion and underline the hypothesis and then circle the conclusion. Item number 1, if MJ is in grade 8, then he is 14 years old. So, identify the hypothesis. So, the hypothesis, sabi kanina, after ng word na if. So, yun yung ating i-underline. Okay, medyo mali. Yan yung ating i-underline. And ang ating conclusion, i-encircle natin. So, after ng then part. O yun yung then part natin. So, yun then, he is 14 years old. So, yung he is 14 years old, yun yung ating i-encircle. Okay. Did you get number 1 correctly? Okay. So, kung nakuha, good to go tayo. And I hope chinekan ninyo ng maayos yung inyong activity. Yung number 2 to 5, checkan ko po yan pagdating na sa akin ng inyong learning activity sheet. Okay? Question? So, tutunan nyo na ang pag-identify ng hypothesis and conclusion. In this part of our video, we're going to discuss about transform a statement into an equivalent if-then statement. This is under MELC 30. Okay. Magta-transform naman tayo. How are we going to transform a statement into an equivalent if-then statement? Or magre-replace na tayo. Okay? So, to transform a statement into an if-then statement, we have to determine the hypothesis and the conclusion in the given statement. And yan yung ginawa ninyo kanina. Okay? Then follow the if followed by the hypothesis and then followed by the conclusion. Yung format natin na if P, then Q. Where P, yun yung pipiliin mong hypothesis and Q, yun naman yung na-identify mo na conclusion. Okay? So, format natin, if P, then Q. Okay, let's try an example. Transform a statement into an equivalent if-then statement. Example, a triangle is a polygon with 3 sides. Okay. So, identify natin ano nga ulit yung kanyang hypothesis at conclusion do sa una nating activity. Ang ating hypothesis ay yung unang part and our conclusion is the second part after is. So, ang hypothesis natin kanina, a triangle. Ang ating conclusion is a polygon with 3 sides. Okay, ano yung ating P? Bubuo tayo ngayon ng term. Ano yung magiging P natin? Anong subject natin? A triangle. Anong description natin? A polygon with 3 sides. So, meaning, yung ating subject na triangle is a polygon. So, pwede natin siyang gamitin for the if statement. So, our P, if a polygon is a triangle, since our subject is a triangle. Ang description sa kanya ay polygon. At ang Q natin, then it has 3 sides. Diba? Yun yung galing sa dulo. So, kung kukunin natin yung format, we're going to follow the format, if and then statement, if P, then Q, our new statement, or the equivalent statement, if a polygon is a triangle, then it has 3 sides. Okay, in this example, ano yung una nating ginawa? Ay na-identify muna natin kung ano yung hypothesis at conclusion ng ating given statement. Nag-formulate tayo, ano ba yung P at ano ba yung gagamitin nating Q. Then follow the format if P, then Q. Let's try another example. Today is Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday. So, alin dyan yung ating first part and second part? So, our first part is today is Wednesday, tomorrow is Thursday is the second part. Naging clue natin yung kuwit. Okay? So, yung first statement will be our hypothesis and the second part of the statement will be our conclusion. So, gagawa tayo ng P. Okay, our P, today is Wednesday. Nilagyan ko na lang ng if. Our Q is tomorrow is Thursday. If we're going to follow the format, if and then statement, if P, then Q, our statement, if today is Wednesday, then tomorrow is Thursday. So, almost similar in our given statement. Nalagyan lang siya ng if and then. Okay? Third example. A right triangle has one right angle. Walang is. Wala ring kuwit. A right triangle has one right angle. Meron tayong has. Diba? So, pwedeng gamitin natin siya panghati. Okay, first part, yung subject natin, a right triangle. And the description has one right angle. So, our hypothesis, a right triangle, and our conclusion has one right angle. Our P, again, bubuo tayo ng P. Since our subject is a right triangle, so we're talking about a triangle. So, pwede natin gamitin if a triangle is a right triangle. Okay? And our Q, then, it has one right angle. Follow the format. If P, then Q. If a triangle is a right triangle, then it has one right angle. Okay? Nasundan ba ang ating example? May tanong ba? So, ano ba yung kailangan gawin? Ano ba yung mga step para makapag-transform ng statement into an if-then statement? Una, identify the hypothesis and conclusion. Identify nyo yung P and Q. Diba? Mag-formulate kayo ng P at ng Q and then follow the format na if P, then Q. Okay? Magiging clue ninyo dito minsan yung may is, are, has, have. Ganon. Okay, may kuwit. Okay, then check nyo yung subject, kung ano yung pinag-uusapan doon sa statement para mas madali kayong makapag-formulate ng if-then statement. Okay? So, get again your learning activity sheet number 5. Do learning task number 2. In the learning task number 2, you have to change the statement to an if-then or conditional statement. Identify the hypothesis and conclusion. Okay? So, this is learning task number 2 of your learning activity sheet number 5. Ito yung format na magiging sagot ninyo. Okay. So, for this activity, you will be given 5 minutes. So, ready na ba ang inyong learning activity sheet at ang inyong ball pen? Kung ready na, ito na yung ating timer. 5 minutes. Timer starts now. 5 seconds. One minute. Okay, time's up. So let's check your item number 1. Ganun ulit. Be honest in checking your own activity sheet. Number 1 lang yung checkan natin. Yung number 2 at hanggang number 5, si Ma'am May na yung mag-check pagdating niyang learning activity sheet nyo sa akin. Okay? You pass grade 8. You will be in grade 9 next school year. So we have to change the statement into an if and then. Ang una nating task is identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. Okay. Ngayon, ano ang ating hypothesis? You pass grade 8, you will be in grade 9 next school year. Okay. So, ang ating hypothesis is you pass grade 8. Underline ulit na lang ang gagamitin ko katulad yung naging task ko sa inyo. Ang ating conclusion, you will be grade 8 next school year. So, kung ilalagay natin siya, ano yung pin natin? If you will pass grade 8, then you will be in grade 9 next school year. So, yun yung ating if and then. If you will pass grade 8, then you will be in grade 9 next school year. Did you get it correctly? Tama ba naging sagot? Kapag tama kayo, that's a great job. Good job. Okay? May tanong ba? Kapag may tanong, paki-PM lang po ako. Now you can identify the hypothesis and conclusion and transform or rewrite a conditional statement into an if-then form. In this part of the video, we're going to identify the truth value of a conditional statement. Conditional statement has a truth value of true or false. A conditional statement, to be true, show that when hypothesis is true, the conclusion is also true. While to be false, you need to have a counterexample where hypothesis is true but the conclusion is false. So, meron po tayong dalawang truth value para sa ating conditional statement. It is true kapag ang ating hypothesis at conclusion ay parehong true. Pero kapag ang ating hypothesis ay true, pero ang ating conclusion ay false, then the conditional statement is false. A conditional statement is true if it can be verified by the following. So, pwede nating i-approve or pwede nating sabihin na true ang isang conditional statement kapag supported siya ng mga sumusunod na justification. Pwede natin siyang gamiting justification. So, fact or yung mga katotohanan, definition, which is a statement of the meaning of a word or term or phrase which made use of previously defined terms. Mga definitions, mga meaning. Another is property. You are already familiar about the property, especially when you are grade 7, like property of real numbers, property of integers, or even the property of equality. So, pwede natin siyang gamitin as reason, or pwede mo siyang maging justification in determining or identifying that a conditional statement is true. Pwede rin naman ay postulate. Are you familiar with postulate? Postulate is a statement which is accepted as true without proof. So, sa geometry naman to, pwede natin siyang gamitin as justification or pwede mong pagbasehan for verification. Another is the theorem or theorem. So, it is any statement that can be proved true. So, marami tayong theorem sa geometry. So, pwede mo rin siyang gamitin to verify. Okay? Those conditional statements. So, let's have an example. So, if 3x is equals to 24, then x is equals to 8. What do you think about this if-then statement? Is it true or false? It is true. Okay, the conditional statement is true since there is no other value of x that will make the equation 3x is equals to 24 except 8. So, wala naman tayong pwedeng ibigay na ibang value kay x bukod sa 8. So, hindi mo siya pwedeng palitan ng 6 because 3 times 6 is 18. Hindi rin siya pwedeng negative 8. Kasi pag negative 8, ang magiging result, 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. Okay? So, hindi sila pareho ng value. Okay? Another example. If a figure has 4 equal sides, then it is a square. What do you think of this conditional statement? Is it true or false? This is a false conditional statement. Bakit siya false conditional statement? Since rhombus is a figure with 4 equal sides. Diba? So, ano yung ginamit natin dito? So, gumamit tayo ng counter example. Diba? Na naghanap tayo ng other shapes, other polygon, na may description din or definition din na merong 4 equal sides, like the rhombus. So, pwede tayong gumamit dito na ginamit natin ay definition ng rhombus or properties of a rhombus. Okay? So, remember that conditional statement can be either true or false. A false conditional occurs when the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false. So, a conditional statement can either be true or false. Pwede siyang true, pwedeng false ang ating conditional statement. True siya kapag both hypothesis and conclusion are true. And it is false. Nangyayari yung false is a conditional statement kapag ang hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false. Okay? So, any question about that statement? Okay. Get your learning activity sheet. Okay? Get your learning activity sheet number 5. Okay, and answer this one. Determine if the conditional statement is true. If not, give a counter example. Okay, so this is learning task number 2, set B. Okay, learning task 2, set B. Okay, of your learning activity sheet number 5. So, bring out or prepare your learning activity sheet number 5 and your ball pen. You're going to determine if the conditional statement is true or false. Ilalagay nyo lang po kung true or false. Kapag siya ay nag-false, magbibigay kayo ng counter example. So, for this activity, I will be giving you 3 minutes. So, 3 minutes nyo tong gagawin. So, okay, for 3 minutes, our timer is ready. And you may now start. Okay, time's up. Okay, let's check our first item. Okay? So, please be honest in checking. Number 1, if 3 points are coplanar, then they belong to the same plane. Okay, what can you say about this um, number item? So, it is true. If your answer is true, then you did a great job. It is correct. So, if 3 points are coplanar, they belong to the same plane. So, naalala nyo ba yun ng grade 7? Coplanar and collinear. Okay? So, checkan ko yung number 2 to 5 pagdating sa akin ng inyong weekly home learning plan and learning activity sheets. Note that we can use Venn diagram to illustrate conditional statement. O naalala pa ba si Venn diagram? Venn diagram, familiar kayo dyan ng kayo ay grade 7, di ba? Okay. So, Venn diagram can be used to illustrate conditional statement. Okay, like this example in the diagram. So, it has two circle which contains Q, circle Q, and circle P. Okay? So, meron tayong symbol para sa P, symbol natin ang P at Q. Ang P ay para kanino? Or para saan yung P? Ginagamit natin ang P to illustrate or to symbolize the hypothesis. And Q symbolize the conclusion. Anong na-observe ninyo sa ating diagram? What can you conclude? Si P ay nasa loob ni Q. Si Q yung nasa malaking circle at si P nasa maliit na circle sa loob ni Q. Okay? Things that satisfies the hypothesis must be inside the things that satisfies the conclusion. Okay? So, yung mga nasa hypothesis natin ay nasa loob siya ng circle ng ating conclusion. So, the bigger circle is the conclusion or contains the things under the conclusion, and P, which is inside the circle of the big circle, the big circle o siya yung small circle natin na nasa loob, siya yung ating hypothesis. Let's take a look with these examples. Okay? If a number is an integer, then it is a real number. Okay. So, una, tutukuyin muna natin kung alin ang ating hypothesis at alin ang ating conclusion. Ano sa palagay nyo ang ating hypothesis? Kung ang sagot ninyo ay a number is an integer, then it is correct or it is right. Then, it is a real number. Yun ang ating magiging conclusion. Okay? So, kung tayo gagamit ng Venn diagram to illustrate this conditional statement, anong ilalagay natin sa malaking circle? Okay, tama. Yung real number. Anong ilalagay natin sa maliit na circle? Yung integer. Saan mo ilalagay yung maliit na circle? Sa loob o sa labas ng malaking circle? Okay. Sa loob ng malaking circle. Katulad po nito. Okay. So, si real number, yun yung galing sa ating conclusion. At si integer, yun yung galing sa ating hypothesis. Okay. Another example. If you are a Filipino, then you are an Asian. Okay. Tingnan natin ulit kung anong ating hypothesis. Pili na lang tayo ng word na kung aling gagamitin natin to describe our hypothesis. Filipino. Okay. How about our conclusion? Pwede natin gamitin yung Asian. So, kung mag-drawing tayo ulit ng katulad ng nasa number 1, malaking circle at merong maliit na circle sa loob, ano ang salitang gagamitin natin sa malaking circle? Okay, Asian. At sa loob ng maliit na circle ay Filipino, katulad po nito. Okay? Hindi mahirap gamitin ang Venn diagram to illustrate a conditional statement. Okay? So, tiyak, kakayanin nyo to kasi familiar kayo sa Venn diagram. Okay? So, get again your learning activity sheet and do learning task number 3, wherein you have to illustrate the following conditional statement in Venn diagram. So, it is a 5-item activity. So, please prepare your learning activity sheet and your ball pen. Okay? So, I will be giving you 5 minutes for this activity. So, prepare the time. 5 minutes. Are you ready? 5 minutes starts now. Okay, time's up. Okay, so let's check your work. Number 1. If it is a rectangle, it is a quadrilateral. Okay, anong naging sagot ninyo dito? So, kailangan nag-drawing kayo ng 2 circles. Okay? So, kung ganito yung sagot ninyo, yan. Papaligtad lang po yung kasi naka-front ka. So, kung ang naging sagot ninyo sa big circle ay quadrilateral, tama po. And rectangle, yung nasa loob ng small circle. So, tama. You did a great job kung pareho tayo or kapareho nung pinakita ko sa inyo, yung naging sagot ninyo. Checkan ko na lang yung iba pagdating sa akin ng inyong learning activity sheet. Okay? So, for the final activity, what if we interchange the conclusion and hypothesis? Will the resulting conditional statement will also be true? And why? Okay, ito yung nasa learning task activity ninyo, number 3, set B. Okay? So, this is the table na meron kayo doon sa inyong learning activity sheet. So, gagamitin natin yung first conditional statement. If it's an eagle, then it is a bird. Your instruction is to interchange the conclusion and the hypothesis. If it's an eagle, then it is a bird. So, ang hypothesis natin is it is an eagle. Yung ating conclusion, it's a bird. So, pagpapalitin natin. So, magiging new statement natin, if it's a bird, then it's an eagle. O kung ang naisulat ninyo, if it is a bird, then it is an eagle. Okay lang din po yun. Ngayon, yung statement ba natin ay true or false? Okay? The resulting statement is not true since not all birds are eagle. Yung una nating statement, if it's an eagle, then it is a bird. Sure, ay true. Dahil ang eagle ay bird. True yung ating hypothesis, true din yung ating conclusion. Doon naman sa if it's a bird, then it's an eagle. Okay, true yung ating hypothesis, but our conclusion, it's an eagle, is false. Bakit? Hindi lahat ng ibon ay eagle. Marami tayong klase ng ibon. Okay? So, the next 2 item, if it's an equiangular, then it is an equilateral. At if it's a rectangle, then it is a quadrilateral. Ay iiwanan ko na sa inyong activity. Ano po? So, i-interchange ninyo yung hypothesis and conclusion and determine kung yung resulting statement ninyo ay true or false. Okay? So, that's all. Remember, ito yung dapat nyong tandaan. At the end of this video, ito yung na-share kong knowledge sa inyo na dapat ay natutunan ninyo. Conditional statement are made up of 2 parts. The following part, if, is the hypothesis, and the part following the then is the conclusion. A conditional statement is also called an if and then statement. If P, then Q, where P is the hypothesis and Q is the conclusion. Another to remember is to transfer a statement into if-then statement, determine the hypothesis and the conclusion in a given statement. Then follow the format if followed by the hypothesis, and then followed by the conclusion. And another, conditional statement has a truth value of true or false. Okay? And Venn diagram can be used to illustrate conditional statement. Things that satisfy the hypothesis must be inside the things that satisfy the conclusion. I hope marami kayong natutunan and yung ating MELCs ay ating magagawa po. Okay? Remember, enjoy learning mathematics. Yun ang aking iiwanang statement sa inyo. Always enjoy learning mathematics kahit hindi mo siya paborito pa. Malay mo, sa susunod, paborito mo na siya. Okay? Good day, Kahilaga! Bye-bye!